Well, this is going to be a special episode. Stephanie, how are you?
I'm good. How are you?
I am doing incredibly well.
Very good.
So we are celebrating something special. Do you want to tell folks what we're celebrating?
I can do that.
All right.
We're celebrating that we took a nap this afternoon.
Yes. That was wonderful.
No, we're celebrating our 30th wedding anniversary.
30 years.
It's a long time.
It is a very long time. So this is a special episode of 3 different podcasts.
Yes.
First, for me, this is the Cliff Ravenscraft Show.
Actually, first, this is Building a Life and Business Together, because that is the intended podcast that we've always intended to record this for Building a Life and Business Together.
That's true.
Then it became the Cliff Ravenscraft Show, and then it also became Thriving Mosaic. So it will be all 3 episodes, but it intended to be Building a Life and Business Together, so that one should go first.
Right. Do me a favor and turn your microphone to the side. There's a bit of wind noise that's coming through. So, yes, you're right. So first and foremost, this is episode 63 of Building a Life and Business Together. And then you can just look at the title of the Cliff Ravenscraft Show or Thriving Mosaic to find out what episode number of those 2 shows is. But we are recording one podcast episode for 3 different podcasts because this particular episode warrants it, I believe.
It's monumental. It's a big deal.
Monumental.
Isn't it?
Yes.
Okay.
I totally agree. So we're recording this on Sunday, August 16th. And that's because our anniversary is tomorrow, which is a Monday. And we have a lot to do before we head out of town for a conference that we're going to Charlotte, North Carolina together for Empowered Podcasting 3. And there's a lot to get done before we leave for this. And we did our celebration. We went out to dinner today. That was amazing to go back to a restaurant we have not been to in 30 years.
That was fun. It's the only 2 times I've been there. We had our rehearsal dinner at Oriental Walk is it in Fort Mitchell? Is that?
Yep, Fort Mitchell. That was what was labeled on the menu.
That's what was on the menu, right? Okay, because I wouldn't have called that Fort Mitchell.
Yeah, I would have called that Buttermilk Pike. Well, of course, what do you call Buttermilk Pike?
Crescent Springs.
Is that Crescent Springs?
But I think that's the other way on Buttermilk Pike.
Oh,
like
okay.
If you come off the exit and you cross the highway and turn left,
that's Crescent Springs.
That's Crescent Springs. But I guess if you turn right, it's Fort Mitchell. Anyway, anyone who understands 75 in that area will know exactly what we just talked about.
We're talking local geographical regions here in northern Kentucky.
So I wouldn't have called. I wouldn't have called it Fort Mitchell. I actually, when we were talking about it the other day, I called it Crescent Springs. That's what I thought it was. Yeah. So our rehearsal dinner was planned and gifted to us. It was paid for by your dad, by your biological dad, Cliff. I grew up on a farm, and on Section 8, and we didn't do a lot of eating out. I had never had Chinese food until that night of our rehearsal dinner, and we go in, and it's a totally pre-ordered menu. So, like, we didn't choose. I don't even remember what we had other than this one appetizer that came out, and it was some kind of barbecued or roasted chicken on a stick, and somebody at the table made a joke that it was monkey chicken. I don't know how it all. Anyway, that's all I remember of the food that we ate that night. Other than it was the first time that I had ever had Chinese food.
See, I did not know that until today because I think prior to that, I'm sure my mom and dad I had pretty much grown up going to like Chinese buffets.
Right.
So the thing is you and I have been married together for 30 years and we've raised 3 kids. And so I recall us taking our 3 kids to Chinese buffets like endlessly all the time.
We do Chinese takeout. We do, well, for several years, we did the Chinese buffet every Christmas.
But there's a part of me that wonders if I confuse us taking our kids to the Chinese buffet with me being a kid going to the Chinese buffet.
I don't know. You'd have to ask your mom and dad.
I don't know. I'd have to ask them. But anyway, so but today was the first time I discovered that was your first experience eating Chinese food.
Right. And we had never been back. Well, because when we were married, it wasn't in our financial realm of possibility to have dinner there on our own. And then we started life and we had our favorite hotspots that we went to. And so I think I mentioned it maybe 2 or 3 years ago. I was like, I think we should go back to Oriental Walk and take like the family. Like I thought we should all go as a family and that would be fun. But I liked that it worked out just being the two of us and piecing together the 4 things that you remember from dinner and like the 4 or 5 things that I remember from dinner. And yeah, it was fun.
You know, as I listened to this, what you just said, as a person who may or may not know our back history, as you said, you know, going to this was not in our budget at the time. And I'm sitting here thinking, as an average listener, it's like, wait a second. So they're talking about going to these Chinese buffets and stuff like that, and it's like this Chinese restaurant. Who has their rehearsal dinner at some random Chinese restaurant?
This was not. This is
Oriental Walk, which is different.
You have to know it's different.
This is different. This isn't your Chinese buffet.
No, it is a go in, sit down, very nice Chinese restaurant.
So the fun part is I knew nothing of Oriental Walk other than the fact that it was a fancy place that a lot of people, it was an upscale Chinese restaurant. But today we went for our anniversary to celebrate. And ironically, they had on the menu the history.
Yes.
Because they had just celebrated 50 years not too long ago. And so the history of the restaurant was there. And this restaurant was built by a family who came from Hong Kong, and what's that?
Mike Wong.
Mike Wong. And this restaurant was established in 1977.
Yeah.
But it was not only is it a long-standing restaurant, but it is beautiful. I mean, you go in and
it's got those deep reds and golds, and they have running water in the middle. It's really pretty.
It is a very fine restaurant. I mean, now I would, as far as elegant is concerned, it would have been elegant probably in the
30 years ago.
It would have been elegant 30 years ago. Maybe even 20 years ago. I will say that today, 50 years in, the restaurant, I would say, seems a little dated, but it's still a beautiful place.
It is.
And it does give you a little bit of a vibe. It's like you've walked into a different atmosphere. I didn't say this at lunch today, dinner, whatever we call it, because we went early.
Well, I'm still full, so whatever it was my one meal of the day.
When we were there, one of the things that I noticed that I didn't mention is the music kind of took me out of the ambiance I think that could have been created there.
Yes, because it was all instrumental, but it was pop instrumental.
Yep, it was modern day popular music set very instrumentally. It was done tastefully, like it was very enjoyable kind of music, but is all recognizable as modern pop. And I'm like, oh, this is like Unforgettable or whatever. No, that's not the name. I can't remember. Anyway,
I don't know. I had several of the songs where the melody is playing in my head and I'm so close to getting the lyrics, but the lyrics never came.
That's exactly it. And so that's the thing. For me, that music took me out of the vibe of the restaurant, because the vibe of the restaurant is very oriental. You walk in and it's meant to put you into this place. And I feel like they could have just had some traditional Chinese instrumental music or something like that playing, and I think it would have really done it.
Yeah. Obviously it was just the two of us, and in the booth next to us, there was one couple finishing up when we were ordering, and then they sat another couple as we were finishing up. So like there were the three couples, us and the two that sat next to us. But the rest of the restaurant was totally families and big families. Mm-hmm. And I think that's cool.
Yeah.
Anyway.
So we celebrated today by going to a place that we sat at 30 years ago, exactly to the date for the night before we got married. And, I remember that. I don't remember all of the details of that restaurant, but I remember that night, and I remember the next day. The day that we got married, the little Baptist church down on Petersburg Road, Bulletsburg Baptist Church, Reverend Ron Stinson, who I think was more nervous than you and I were, although I remember being very nervous.
I don't know. I cried the whole time.
I think I remember very bright red carpet.
It did have bright red carpet, and the girls wore very dark green, and it was the hottest day in August. I remember the air was broken. And because it was August, the air was broken, and I had on this big dress. I remember it was standing room only. It's like
I do remember standing room only, and I remember seeing like the big crowds of people out both back doors that were open in the back of the church. My Aunt May was there.
I cried the entire time. But I have since learned that was just like public speaking and all of the attention being on me. Like that was so that was my nerves. Like that's how that what's the word? That's how that
I don't know.
Manifested. Like
yeah. That's it.
I don't know. I remember Ron Stinson gave us a big deal about taking his time, signing our marriage license and mailing it to us because he wanted it to look nice, and it came to us with a coffee stain on it.
I remember that.
It's still in the safe somewhere with a coffee stain on it. I don't know. I remember that many people told me that we had the best reception that they had ever been to.
It was a very good reception.
We did have a very, very good reception.
Tim House was a wonderful DJ.
Yeah. And he was a friend of yours, right?
Yep. I met him through a bulletin board service of all things.
I remember you shoved cake up my nose, so I took a big piece of cake and wiped it all down the side of your face. I won that round.
Yeah.
Didn't even know we were playing, and I won that round. So I just have like bits and pieces.
Yeah, there are flashes of it that it's like it was yesterday.
I remember when Kurt, your best man, drove us home from the reception, that one of the gifts slid forward. It was a crystal picture frame. It slid forward from the back and hit one of us in the head, but I cannot remember which one of us it hit in the head.
That's funny. So Stephanie and I were talking about the fact that, we have our anniversary is coming up. We also talked about the fact that it's time for another episode of Building a Life and Business Together. And it just so happens to coordinate well.
Well, that's not even fair, because last month's Building a Life and Business Together, you said we will record next month's episode on a very special day.
I know.
And, yeah.
So we knew this was coming up, but this is the idea of combining it for all three shows is something
that came up this week.
That came up. And if this was Building a Life and Business Together, I mean, chances are we're going to get up tomorrow morning. We're going to go for our morning walk like we do every Monday through Friday. And we would have recorded this episode out for a walk, just randomly chatting. However, given the fact that we're combining it for all three shows, and it's a special episode, I had this idea of going over to ChatGPT and asking, hey, what do you think about this idea of 30 questions for 30 years together? And ChatGPT came back and gave us several different segments of questions. 6 for looking back at who we were. 6 questions for what tested and formed us. 6 questions for marriage, family, and raising children. 6 questions for life, business, money, and change. 5 questions for who we have become. And then the 30th question is the next chapter. And I trusted ChatGPT to put all that together. Neither of us.
Yeah, I have no idea what's coming.
We have no clue what these questions are.
Well, I mean, at least you've seen the what do you call them? Sections.
The sections. As I was reading them was the first time I've seen those as well. Okay. So you and I are.
So you didn't look at all because you asked for this yesterday, right?
I asked for this yesterday on the way home. Yeah. So we're going to see if we can answer 30 questions, and if we don't like any of the questions, we'll skip if it doesn't seem right or whatever. Are you ready?
Yep.
Question. Well, I don't want to call them question number 1 because it didn't. I wanted it to have the numbers, but it for each section is numbered anyway. Well, it doesn't matter. It's my perfectionist. I'm like,
maybe you should have looked and fixed and numbered.
I know I could have fixed the numbers, and it's like make this one 7 through 12. Anyway. It doesn't matter. It does, but it doesn't. It's too late. We're going to move forward. Are you ready to go?
Yeah.
All right. The first question. When you think about the 2 people who got married 30 years ago, what do you think they understood about love, and what did they have completely wrong? I have a thought that immediately comes to my mind.
Okay, you can go.
And that is, I truly do believe that we went into our marriage understanding that love was a choice.
Yes.
That it isn't something that is some like it happens to you and and it comes and it might go or whatever, but love is a choice. And I know that when we decided to get married, maybe for me, maybe at the time, the idea is like, this is forever. That's the way that you and I both said it. Divorce is not an option. Now, for me, as I look back then, I thought of that as a moral kind of thing. It's like this, we're not. That would be terrible. We're not those people. That's not us. Blah 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 blah. But no, as time had gone on, it's not a moral decision. It is a decision that I genuinely wanted you as my partner in life. And I think what I didn't realize back then, I did not realize the value of you being my best friend and partner back then. So it's almost like you're my wife, you're my helpmate, the whole, standard things that came with a lot of doctrinal conditioning and stuff like that. And then I have my friends, but over time, after now 3 decades, I realize it's like, wow, there has been one friend who has been faithful to me this entire time, has been through all of the good times, all of the bad times, has never gone away. And that's been you. And so I know that one thing that we knew when we were going into this is that we were in this for the long haul and that we were committed, and it wasn't just a feeling. It was a choice. But I think that a lot of that was not built on evidence. It was built on faith that that's what this was. And I think that over 3 decades, we have evidence that supports that faith that we had, that belief that we had.
Okay.
Did that make sense to you?
I'm trying to make it make sense to me because I don't know that when I said that, I don't know that it was that I had faith that, okay, I agree with you that we knew that love was a choice.
Okay.
I agree with that. We knew and we understood that. I also would say that we knew that that making that choice would ebb and flow, because there are days when I wake up annoyed, but I still choose to love you. There are days that I'm talking early. I'm not talking now. Okay. I'm talking then. Like, there are days where you would say something hurtful and I still am making the choice to love you. Like, and so I get that, but I don't know that I can say that I made that choice that, because I mean, I remember we said words like divorce was not an option. We said there is no escape clause. We're like, I said I'm doing this one time. And so for me, I don't think I didn't have any evidence, because at the time I hadn't been around anyone who had a very long lasting marriage.
Maybe your grandma, nanny.
Maybe, well, they were only married 50 years when they were, I remember their 50th. I have to do the math. Anyway, so I'm saying, like, when I got married, maybe they were like coming up on 50. I'd have to do the math. But anyway, so for me, I think for me, it was more a trauma response in that I had experienced so much divorce in my upbringing that at such a young age, I was saying, as a response to my own trauma, I'm only doing this one time. That's
interesting. You saying that out loud, I also can resonate with that being a part of my reasoning as well. As if we get married, if we have kids, I don't want to put my kids through what I had to go through with, my mom and my biological dad versus my stepdad and that whole situation and stuff like this. There was a lot of my reasoning, not just the moral conditioning of what's acceptable, but also, trauma response from a lot of that.
Now, we didn't have that language at the time.
Right.
But that's something that is clear now. Looking back.
Interesting. All right. That's question number 1. Question number 2. This one is a question I guess we're meant to be asking each other. So I'll ask you first. What do you remember most about who I was when we first got married that is different from who I am today?
I don't know. And I think that I don't know. But now, I know that you have grown and changed in 30 years, hands down, I know. But I think that I can say that the things that attracted me to you 30 years ago are the same things that attract me to you today. You're different than my upbringing. Completely. That was the biggest checkmark green flag in your column when we started dating. You are, to me, you have always been dependable. You have always I think you have always accepted me for where I am. And if any listeners who have listened for a long time have heard on other anniversary shows where I have talked about a letter you wrote 6 months after we got, that was projecting. Like you were projecting your own things onto me. And I know that now. I wonder if that's still in the safe. Anyway. So while you're different as a person, you're not. Because the same things that drew me to you 30 years ago still draw me to you today.
Interesting. if I were to answer that, what do I most remember about who you were when we first got married that is different from who you are today? I would say just your life experience. You were 18 years old. You had never been outside of your parents' home before. You literally moved out of their house into our apartment, and your first adult life experience had been with me. And just to see how much you've navigated over the years, and specifically when you became a mom, I saw just how much it's like, oh my gosh, this is a woman who is creating her own traditions. This is a woman who is creating her own life by design, the way that she wants it, not the way that it has always been. I watched you go from, I would never, ever have used the label people pleaser with you. Yet at the same time, there was a very deep relationship with your mom and your dad at those times. And over time, you became so much more independent. And today, you're probably the single most independent woman I've ever met in my life.
Thank you.
And that is something I don't think you were an independent woman at 18 years old when we got married. And there was a very naive part of me who liked that you weren't an independent woman. And I remember specifically when there was a significant shift when you came back from Colorado. And I will say that I'm thrilled with your independence, the freedom that you have found, and especially the ways that it challenged my own ideas of how our relationship should be, the way that you should be, and all of this other stuff. It really has grown my own perspective in life. So,
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
no, that all tracks, and I appreciate that. And so it goes back to what I said. Like, you have always loved and supported every version of me. I am very aware that the version sitting here today is not the version that got married 30 years ago.
Nope.
And like looking at, like listening to you say the things that you saw me grow and change and the things that I fought for, and just pairing those with what I've learned about being an eldest daughter and how much of the family's responsibility felt like mine until I had my own. And I think once I had my own, once we had Megan, and I felt responsible, well, adding the responsibility of her to what I felt responsible as a wife, that started that shift. And so to think that it took 13 years from when she was born in 1999 to 2012, when I made steps in all of those 13 years, but coming home from Colorado in 2012 and being so vastly changed and free. Anyway, you've given me the space to do all of that.
Yeah.
And the foundation to do all of that. You, hand to God, are the only person who's never let me down.
All right. The next question is, and I'm actually thinking as I read it, because I was looking at it here just a second ago, I'm thinking there may be questions that we dump. I think this might be a terrible question.
Okay.
I'll read it out loud and see if you agree, and see if you. First of all, I'm interested in if you think you can answer why you think I think it's a terrible question. You ready?
Yeah.
What is something about you that I probably didn't fully understand or appreciate in the early years of our marriage?
That is a terrible question.
Why do you think it's a terrible question?
Because 30 years ago was a long time. No. Why do I think it's a terrible question? I think that it's a limiting question. I don't know.
It's almost a judgmental question. Yeah. It's like, well, first of all, I believe that every question we ask our subconscious mind
will provide an answer.
Our subconscious mind will go searching for an answer. It does not have to be accurate, but it's like, wow, I'm on the spot. Let me answer this question. And it's almost inviting. It's like, what did you get wrong about me? Where were you wrong? So let's reverse the question. What is something that what is something that I did appreciate about you in the early part of our relationship?
Okay, how am I answering that?
You answering the question of what is something that you felt appreciated, that I appreciated when we first got married?
I don't. Okay. I don't know that I have an answer because I've never given it a thought.
Okay.
So, I mean, I could sit here and think on it for forever, but...
So here's something I can answer on my side, see if it helps you. So one of the things I know you appreciated about me is probably how mature I was compared to some of the other people, boys or whatever that you had been around and or dated or anything of that nature. I think another thing is that you appreciated about me was it was your ticket out.
100%.
To get out.
I've said that before myself.
And
I didn't know that at the time.
And I think I was absolutely infatuated with you, devoted to you, loyal to you. I mean, it just like there at some level there was a season of our life where I feel like you were my world.
Yes.
And what's so funny?
I'm just thinking about the letter I got in that season. That's okay.
Okay.
I was smothering you, but I wasn't. You were. You were projecting.
I was projecting what I had done to myself. But and ironically, 30 years later, I don't. Those words all sound like. I don't think that that's the case today.
No.
I am in love with you. I mean, you are my best friend. There's nobody I'd want to spend time with more than you. But you're not my whole world today.
Right. And
that is something that has changed and has shifted. But back then, I think there was that season of our life. I think that's probably something you would have appreciated about me back then, and it was true of me back then. It's like wow, as far as I'm concerned, I don't care where we live, I don't care what we have, I don't care any of the. It's like as long as you and I are together, that's all that matters to me. Yeah. It's like you were everything in my world.
Okay, so, and I could be wrong, but I remember you saying things of this nature at the time. So I'd almost say that something you appreciated about me at the time was my maturity, even though looking back, I had next to none. You always commented multiple times. I'm just going to stick with always. You always commented that I was more mature than my peers, than those around me, than those my age. And to an extent, at the time, that was true because I had to do things that required me to grow up very fast. And so I think at the time, that was true. There was not... There was not I'm not going to say that our maturity levels matched, because I do think that you were more mature than I was, but they weren't that far off. So that would be my answer.
Yeah.
Even though looking back now, I can tell you,
you don't feel like you were
I
that
don't
mature.
feel like I was very mature, but at the time, I felt
for that
loads ahead of.
And the world has changed a lot.
It has
since we were together back then, and for the time, you were very mature, and I think about the conversations you and I had back then compared to conversations I had with other people in their mid-20s and upper 20s, and it's like, dude, grow up. I mean, seriously. And you and I would have deep, meaningful conversations about things. Now, obviously, 30 years later, and of course, with access to as much experience and just knowledge and everything since then, so much of our own perceptions of everything has shifted over 30 years. And I look back to see how naive we were back then. But for the time, absolutely.
Yeah.
All right. Next question. Let's see here. If we could sit down with our newlywed selves for 1 hour, what would you most want to tell them?
Nothing.
Yeah, me either.
Nothing. I wouldn't be who I am today without all of the experiences that she had, and she had to have them one at a time the way that she did.
Yep. This is when we're interviewed on podcast episodes. It's like, hey, if you could go back and change anything, what would you change? I wouldn't want to change. I wouldn't want to go back and tell myself anything. No.
Nothing.
Yeah. All right. Next question. What expectations did we bring into marriage that turned out to be unrealistic, unnecessary, or simply wrong?
Say that again?
What did we bring into our marriage that turned out to be unrealistic, unnecessary, or simply wrong?
Submission.
Submission would be that one, I think, for me was the biggest thing. Is like, I'm supposed to be the leader, I'm supposed to make the decisions, and you're supposed to just agree with everything. And I'm like, that didn't work out for me.
How's that going?
Yeah. I think that's really the only unrealistic thing. All right, we're not going to go with numbers. Next one. What is one early memory from our marriage that seems small on the surface but represents something important about who we were becoming together? So, what is one early memory from our marriage? Do you have an early memory from our marriage?
I don't know.
I have several. So
I'm sure you do.
One of the things that I recall as an early memory from our marriage is how much we made it through some very challenging times together.
Yes.
I remember having a gigantic glass bottle that was in the shape of an old Coca-Cola bottle.
Oh, we filled with change.
And it was filled with change. And I remember that there were months where we would literally dump it out, and eventually we would take all the $50 out and we would go buy gas with $50. Then we would buy gas with quarters. Then we would buy gas with dimes and yes, nickels. And eventually I do recall the day where we went in and bought gas with pennies.
The Speedway on Monmouth Street in Newport will only take $3. Well, 30 years ago, will only take $3 worth of pennies for gas at a time.
Yep. And that is an early memory from our marriage that may seem small on the surface, but it really shaped so much of the understanding that, we're going to make it through this.
Yeah.
We were both working at the time and we were trying to figure out budgeting, and it was one thing after another. It seemed like we would never get out from under it. And I think just to say, you know what, we've got each other and we're committed and we're going to get through this. And we did.
Yeah. We had 2 cars, but they were seasonal cars because one had the heat stuck on and one had no heat.
And there were, because we both worked, there were times that
You drove that big car with candles lit.
I actually lit 2 candles and put them in the cup and put them in the cup holders so that I could keep my hands warm while I was driving in the winter.
That's so you could have just wore gloves.
It was, yes.
But yeah, I think that like the pennies was one thing that I was thinking about before you told that story. Just the learning how to make ends meet together. Because I had never had more than a McDonald's job when we got married. And you lived in the world of credit cards. And so just learning to make all of that fit and work and find a way to make. And the way we view finances and money has changed so many times over the course of our marriage.
Yep. All right. So next section of questions is what tested and formed us. So I think we probably would have already addressed some of this, but we'll see. The next question is, what season of our marriage stretched us the most? I would say it was probably leaving insurance.
I was going to say starting this business, which are basically the same thing.
Yeah, that's exactly it.
Yeah. That was, it's still 100% the right thing at the right time, in the right place. But I don't think that either of us knew the sacrifices or the costs that it would take to do it. As far as like the fact that it was my idea. I'm the one who told you to quit your job, but I never once knew that I was signing up to be a single mom.
Right.
For 2 years. Yeah. That grew us.
It did. The thing that stands out to me is you and I were working on the business finances, trying to say, is there enough money to cover all of these bills? And there were multiple months where it's like, no. Okay. And it's like every single month, it seemed like in 2008, at least most of them, for the first 6 or 7 or 8 months, what I remember most, and we've told this story several times, every month, one of us was in tears.
Yes, but never both of us at the same time.
There was never a time where we were both down at the same time, like worried, anxious, fearful. It was one or the other, and it was kind of like back and forth. But it stretched us. There's no doubt in my mind that was a very difficult, challenging time. All right. Next question. What difficult experience would you never willingly choose to repeat, but you can now see gave us something valuable?
Same
thing. I would say my experience in the hospital as well.
But I think that comes out of that first decision, that first year, and the decisions were lack of good decisions that.
Yeah, it was the anxiety, the worry, the stress, the working endless hours, and absolutely no prioritization on healthy eating at all. Everything in my world was consumed with, I've made a commitment to this family to provide, and I'm not yet doing that.
Yeah.
And working around the clock. And then I ended up in the hospital where I almost died as a result of gallstones in my cystic duct and throughout my gut. And yeah, it was a terrible experience.
It really was. But what I love about it is that our kids don't remember it that way.
Right.
They don't remember So we did something right.
Yeah, I do. Over the last 30 years, we've reflected back on those days. You just said, I was a single mom. The reality is that I was still very much involved with the kids. The one thing that I, can look back and some parts of this was just suppressed. But the reality is I was working around the clock, and sometimes I would work late at night. And oftentimes I would do that because I went to the school and volunteered for this at the school. I went to this awards thing at the school. I went to this parent thing at the school.
I don't remember that happening the first year, though.
I do.
Okay, that's fine.
But because I was free. I had my own schedule. But the one thing I will say, though,
I only remember the sanitation field trips all 3 times.
I remember all of those, unfortunately.
I did get better field trips than you.
You did. Anyway, the one thing that I learned over that experience was just, I came out of the hospital with a whole different approach to everything. And it began a personal development and a professional development journey. And so I went on a health and fitness journey and still been navigating that throughout my life. But also just learning and growing professionally and balancing those two focuses. Today, I'm a lifelong learner, and I believe in unceasing personal and professional development. So much so that prior to that experience, for me, I would say the only books I ever read were a handful of books that I was required to read in high school and or college. Most of those, I would tell you that I didn't read the books. I read the Cliff's Notes version and got, just made my way through. However, since then, I've read about 400 books. And I love reading and studying, and I have thousands of pages of notes on books that I've read and studied. Yeah. So that's what it gave me. All right. Was there ever a season when you wondered whether we were growing together or growing apart, and what helped us navigate it?
I don't think so, because I think we learned early on we were either growing together or growing apart. And so we were very intentional about growing together.
Yep. I would wholeheartedly agree. I don't think there's ever been a question in our mind, are we growing apart? Now, there have been seasons where we might have felt lonely because you've got your thing going on, I've got my thing going on, but those have
and every now and again we meet and
yeah, we'd be like ships passing in the night. But those were seasons where that was actually growing together. Mm-hmm. We understood why each of us were doing the things that we were doing. All right. What conflict or recurring disagreement taught us something important about how the other person experiences the world?
That's got to be about money. I don't know.
I don't think so.
You don't think so?
No, I don't think we've ever had a recurring conflict around money. I mean, we've had a recurring
I don't mean a
issue.
conflict. I mean like that.
This is conflict or disagreement.
Okay.
Like a conflict or a disagreement.
I don't know that we have a recurring conflict or disagreement.
I mean, we've had conflicts.
But they're not recurring because we name them, we label them, and we deal with them.
We had endless amounts of conflict and disagreements before we went to that very first marriage conference when we learned
to communicate,
to how to communicate.
Mm-hmm.
And basically, once we learned how to communicate, what's so funny?
I'm just thinking, like, for me, I grew up in an environment where things are constantly swept under the rug. And so, like, we don't do that.
Right.
We don't do, if it's an issue, it gets named and it gets dealt with.
Yep.
No rugs in this house.
Yeah. And we still have things that we disagree with from time to time, but that's the thing. We've talked about it. Yeah.
And the thing is, there could be something that we had to come to a decision, and there are times when we still disagree.
Yep. Even though
but we're going to go with yours, or we still disagree, but we're going to go with mine. Like, and you said, like, in the first 7 years before we went to the conference and learned how to communicate, we had...
Was it 7 years before we went to the first conference?
Yeah, we went to the first one. We've been married 7 years.
That must have been a rough 7 years.
I don't think so. I think it felt like a normal 7 years.
That's true, like, given our experience growing up.
And I'm not... I don't... It's not like we went and we had this whole list of things that we had to start dealing with and going through. It was like we went and we learned to communicate, and we learned what the other needed to feel love, and we did those things. And then any conflicts in the first 7 years dissolved themselves. That's the way I remember it. Like, yeah. I don't remember we coming out of that and being like, oh, well, we need to deal with this issue, and we need to deal with this, and we need to deal. There were not a list of issues. We learned to communicate, and we learned that you liked me meeting you at the door when you came home from work every day, and you needed that to feel loved. And I did that for a time because it's very unrealistic with 3 small children. But I did that for a time. And then what you needed to feel love changed, and we did that. Like,
yeah, and the thing is I don't recall any of that.
Yeah, you wanted the bed made, and you wanted to meet me at the door, and I don't remember what the third thing was, and I don't remember what my 3 things were at all. But that was something that came out of that conference. It was like 3 things that would help you feel love.
It was like, what are 3 things?
It's like love in action.
Exactly. And I think that the problem is it's like, I don't know, let's put something down here. And I'm pulling his strings out of a thing. It's like straws out of a hat. I'm like, here's my 3 things.
Right.
Not everything in that conference was great.
No, it wasn't. But... we did learn some very good things out of it. And
here's the one thing I understand. The point of this question is how the other person, what taught us something about how the other person experiences the world. I think more than anything, what we learned through our disagreements and when we learned to communicate is we understood that we don't actually live in the same world.
We don't.
We don't have the same we don't experience reality the same. Mm-mm. You have your filters, I have my filters, and I think prior to, and we didn't learn that just in that conference. This is something we probably learned much later, but it's through conversation that I think what we've learned is like, wow, you and I we don't experience everything the same way, and I think there was a expectation. It's like, wow, you and I are sitting in the car together, and we just watched this event take place in front of us,
and we saw it exactly the same.
And there's the assumption that we saw exactly the same thing,
and we didn't.
It's kind of like just recently we were going down our street, and you're like, hey, did you see that they're doing landscaping on this house? It looks really good. And I'm like, I didn't even know this house was here.
And I know who lived in it before, that it was, she passed and the son renovated it and he put it up for sale and it sold really quick. I can tell you what it sold. It sold for $415. Like, yeah, but you didn't even know that house was there.
And when you told me all of that.
I've met the new couple who lives there. And
the funny thing is when you said all of that, I was reminded of when we first moved into this house, which was 14 years ago?
12
years ago. I do remember she lived there, her husband lived there, and I remember them passing, and that house was in my mind.
Well, he passed a long time, yeah.
Anyway.
Go ahead.
But the thing is, but at some point, I lost conscious awareness that house, like if you were to ask me, hey, can you just on a piece of paper draw squares for how many houses are on this street, I probably would have left that house off.
And I can tell you that like the spring before she passed, she got a dog who I think was a little chow. And then one day I saw her son in the parking lot in the driveway waiting for someone to come and do work on the house. And so he still had the dog, and that made me smile. Like, We don't see the world the same way.
Yeah. And I think that's a valuable thing. And also, I think one of the things that we've learned over the years, over these 30 years, is that's actually a positive attribute. Because there are things, this is one of the things I love about the fact that you and I are going to this conference in North Carolina together, because we're going to be engaging with other people at this event, and you and I are going to have conversations, and somebody's going to be sharing things about their life and their experience and their story, and you're going to pick up on things that they say that I'm like, I didn't get that. And vice versa. And, you know, we can compare notes and talk about the things that, you know, we became aware of from what people are experiencing in their world and what they're going through. And yeah. Mm-hmm. Anyway, so fun stuff. All right, next question. You ready? Mm-hmm. What have we learned about apologizing, forgiveness, and repairing things after we've hurt one another?
Just do it.
Okay.
Admit you were wrong. Ask for forgiveness. Also, ask for forgiveness. Will you forgive me for? Not I'm sorry. Like, I'm sorry is it's a cop-out. It's lame. Got that from raising children. It's, just admit you were wrong and ask for forgiveness and move on.
Yeah, I think you said it well. All right. Next question. What is something we once thought was a major problem in our marriage? Looking back now seems much less important than it did at the time.
I missed that whole question.
What was something we once thought was a major problem in our marriage that looking back now seems much less important than it did at the time?
I don't know that I would categorize anything in our marriage as a major problem.
No, I 100% agree with you. I mean, we've had lots of challenges, but none of them were a major problem in our marriage. No. They were just life and two people learning to navigate a shared experience and partnership together in life.
Yeah.
No major problem. Okay. Next segment of questions is called Marriage, Family, and Raising Children. Are you ready?
I am.
How did becoming parents change our marriage in ways we never anticipated?
In ways we never anticipated?
Yeah.
Huh.
Or just how did becoming parents change our marriage? Huh. The first thing that comes to my mind while you're thinking is I think early on we still prioritized our relationship as husband and wife above kids get they're the number one priority or whatever. Would you agree with that statement, or did that happen after Megan? Or do you agree that it's ever happened at all?
No, I know that it has happened, and I believe that it has happened because I consciously remember us saying many times, the whole goal is for them to grow up and go.
Yep.
And in 18 years or, 30 in Matthew's case, I'm making a joke. Please understand I'm making a joke. I'm totally glad that Matthew is here and has a safe place while he finishes school. I just think it's funny the way he talks about finishing school. It's a running family joke. But the whole goal in our parenting was that they were going to grow up, they were going to mature, they were going to be morally responsible, independent adults who left the home.
Yep.
And when that happened, there would still be us.
Yes.
And I did not want to look at you at the end of, it was actually I think 23 years. Over the course of our parenting, I think it was 23 years. I didn't want to look at you 23 years later and see a stranger. So I think, yes, 100%, I would say we always did. After Matthew, I think Megan was very much both of our entire world when she showed up.
But see, the key is our world, not your world.
No.
And so I agree with you. I remember, because I felt just as possessive as you did.
We were enchanted.
We left the hospital.
Like, drive faster. Why are they letting us leave with this?
I can't believe they let us leave this hospital with this child.
Yeah.
It's like, we need to get out of here. I can't believe we made it out the door.
Hurry before they change their mind. Like, we were totally enthralled with her. Not that we weren't with our other two children, but there was that first child experience that we, and so we were. Now, did we still prioritize ourselves? Yeah. Or our relationship? Yes. But she went with us everywhere we went. She was a part of the relationship for a time. But I think that even in our very busy years of growing the business, even in our passing, two ships passing in the night, we still carved out time, whether it was a quick lunch at Chipotle or recording a podcast or like, even when those were our only interactions, they were prioritized and totally zoned in. Like, we weren't phoning them in. Like, it was, I would say that
we were intentional about us as an identity.
I did not want to look at a stranger. Like, I didn't want to get to our 30. We just moved McKenna to Texas. I didn't want to get to 30 years and not know who you are.
Yeah. And I think we've done well. Next question. What did raising Megan, Matthew, and McKenna reveal about me that surprised you?
What did it reveal about you that surprised me? I don't know.
Yeah, I'm not. It didn't.
I don't think there wasn't anything surprising. I think that we were intentional. We were totally enthralled with Megan, and a lot of that showed up in her behavior and personality as a toddler and a preschooler. And so then we were like, well, crap, she's her own person. And now we need to figure out like how to deal with her. She's not just this continued extension of us, right? She has her own.
She has her own ideas
and outbursts and personality. And so then we started on our parenting journey. How were we going to parent? We had come to a place where we had already, well, this time we have two children because we have Matthew as well. Although Matthew was different from the moment he appeared, right? I remember calling my mom being like, this one sleeps through the night and I don't know what to do.
Yep.
Like, what's wrong with him? Is he broken? Because Megan, you had to basically like pin down and hold her there until she fell asleep because she refused to go to bed from a small age and still does. Like, I think she's probably better about it now. She's 26, but where was I going with that?
Don't know.
But then we started on our parenting journey about how we wanted to parent and what kind of parent we wanted to be, what we wanted discipline to look like, what we want. And those things changed and morphed over the course of raising them. What was the actual question?
The one is, we can actually, what did raising our children reveal about you that you did not know about yourself beforehand? I think we can talk about is just how did our approach to parenting change, what we thought it would be like. That's a much better question.
It is. And I think for me, I would say, and I've said it many times, is that I wanted a baby. I wanted babies. And then I realized that they're actual human beings and I had to learn how to mold them and guide them into morally responsible, independent adults who would one day leave my house, right? That was the whole goal. And so, or that became the whole goal. And
we often talked about, and we've said this many times over the years, we have not said the phrase yet here, but we were not raising children, we were raising adults.
Exactly. And And so, but that wasn't, we didn't start out with that. That's something that we found over time. I think that when we had Megan, we were so in love and enchanted by this baby. And then she starts, becoming a person and has ideas and has these wants and her own desires. And I started parenting the way that I was parented.
As did I.
And I didn't like it.
Nor
100%.
Did I. And not you, me. I did not like how I was parenting.
100%. I did not like it.
We both radically changed how we parented our kids when Matthew came around. And it's like Megan took the brunt of so much of our...
I think that even Matthew got a little bit in the beginning because Megan was like 4 by the time that we were actually... Like, McKenna would be the only one who experienced like us not parenting the way we were parented.
Yeah. So we're not going to go into what did it reveal about each other and all this other stuff, or what did you not know about yourself beforehand.
We're resilient.
So here, what do you think we did particularly well as parents, and where do you think we were learning as we went? I think one of the things we did particularly well eventually was making the decision that growing kids God's way was the worst parenting advice we'd ever experienced on the face of this planet.
That was part of our journey, though. It was, we were in this situation. We had what we were told at the time was an unruly child. We did not have an unruly child. We had a firstborn eldest daughter who wasn't going to take crap from anybody. It's just the adults around her couldn't handle that from a 4-year-old.
Yeah.
So, hey, she has grown into an exceptional leader.
Yep.
In all areas of her life. And I think that that's because we learned to nurture it, not to squash it.
Well, here's what I will tell you is we grew up under teachings related to family focus on the family, James Dobson kind of stuff. We were involved in the evangelical fundamentalist church, and we were a part of this one program, and I just called it was called Growing Kids God's Way. I think it was Gary and Anne Marie Ezzo. And it was this indoctrinating, this is how you put the hammer of Thor on your children, and you get them in line. And heaven forbid, if a kid is acting up and crawling around in a chair in a doctor's office, this is how you put them in their place and get them to fall in line. It's like at the time. It's like, wow, okay, we're gonna implement this, and we did, and oh my gosh, it was.
I will tell you two good things that I learned out of that I kept even after we had ditched the entire program.
Okay, tell me that.
One was something that came out of that was that children should not interrupt adults, right? So if we were you and I are having a conversation, and one of the kids has something that they need to tell us right now. Mm-hmm. Rather than coming in and interrupting loudly and just taking all of the attention right then, they would come in and they would lay their hand on our arm so that we knew that they needed attention. We could finish our sentence and then turn and give them our attention. Okay, that is something that I continued mm-hmm. even after we ditched the rest.
Yes, right? I did like that. The only thing is that was actually presented as this is your place in the world.
No, I totally understand.
And I don't like the philosophy that was behind it, but the actual it's like, hey, here's a signal. Here is a way that you can get our attention. This is the most reasonable way for you to come and tell us that you need to say something. And I would actually, if I were parenting a child today, I would say, this is a preferred way of handling this.
Right.
Sure, you can come in and you can just, I'm sitting there talking with so-and-so, and you can come in and just yell and scream and all this other stuff that may or may not cause that. Of course, a kid's not going to understand this. That may or may not actually cause that person to think terrible things of me as a parent with you coming in and interrupting us in that way. Because that's really what this was. Is it was managed perceptions of others.
Yes.
That's the whole thing. Was this, how do we? It wasn't teaching this child to be this thing. So anyway, but yes, I do love the idea that's like, here's a method of communicating that we can use in our family. If you see that we're having a conversation, just come up, put your hand on my arm, and squeeze just briefly, and I will put my hand on your hand to let you know that in just a moment I will.
Right, I will acknowledge. Yeah.
Exactly.
Or I'm acknowledging, and in just a moment I will respond, or engage. And then the other thing, and I think that in the program it's done in a guilt and manipulative way, but the way I kept it was, when I'm telling my children not to do something, or I'm asking them not to do something, I'm not just telling them, no, don't do that. I'm not just saying, don't. I'm telling them why I'm saying that.
That is something that was a valuable life lesson as a parent. It's like, listen, you want to help your child understand why something may or may not be something that is a good idea, and explain it, because you don't want them to just not do it because you are not there. Or because you're there.
You want them to not do it when
you want them to also
which
benefit.
Is integrity.
Exactly. Yeah. And so it did help with just because I said so, and you don't give them much more. So not everything. I would just say 85 to 90% of Growing Kids God's Way was trash. And I am sorry, Megan, very much. I don't think Matthew remembers. But it was terrible, and I'm glad. It was
terrible. And then one thing that I did with my kids, but this was more of a choosing to parent different, was I did not lie to my kids. So if there was something going on with in an extended part of the family, I did not make up a story. I just told them what was going on.
The other thing we did is we also, what you were just saying that, and we talked to them like adults.
Yes.
We never used.
I never used baby talk.
Baby
never.
Talk.
And I have 3 incredible communicators. It's amazing. And I just told a story on Thriving Mosaic a couple of weeks ago that, when Matthew was coming up on Megan started talking when she was like 14 months old. Mm-hmm. And by the time she was 2, she was having complete sentences and complete sentence conversations with people, and they couldn't believe she was only 2. There are just shy of 2 years between Megan and Matthew. So by the time he's born, she's having complete sentences. When Matthew was 2, I take him for his 2-year checkup, and our pediatrician is like, "Do you have any concerns? Is there anything you want to address?" And I'm like, "Yeah, he's not really talking. He has a couple of words that he says, like he was saying mom and dad and milk, and like he had a couple of things that he said, but he was not talking in what I thought he should be talking, right?" Mm-hmm. And so we discuss it. The pediatrician and I discuss it, and I have a phone number for a speech therapist to call and make a meeting, because now I have a referral, and I'm going. It's on my schedule to do the next week, right? Well, the next week Megan starts preschool. And the 3 of us, Megan and Matthew and I, drive to preschool. Matthew and I get out. We walk her inside. We drop her off at her classroom, and we come back out and get in the van. And Matthew goes, "Mama, when do we come back for Megan?" Because Matthew had complete sentences. He just never had the ability to use them. And so that's still one of my favorite stories. It's hands down one of my favorite stories. But we were so intentional about the way we spoke to our kids.
We never spoke down to them.
And we didn't speak down to them. And I think, one thing that we grew into was we did not humiliate them in public. Like, so we did not discipline them in front of other people. That was something that was kept private for our home.
Yeah.
I took a lot of flack for that one.
Yeah. All right. Well, actually, the next question was, and we've already answered this. What did we learn?
You really want those numbers.
What did we have to learn about remaining husband and wife while also being mom and dad? I think that was always a priority of ours.
Yeah.
So that's a non-issue. Yeah. The next one is, now that we have entered the empty nest chapter, not that I'm bitter about this question, what are you discovering about us that was harder to see during the parenting years? There have been 2 glimpses of the empty nest season.
Yeah, they were both brief.
And I loved them.
I still think that we're in the empty nest season.
Okay.
I really do. And here's why. We simply have a live-in babysitter for our dog.
There you go. We do have a live-in dog sitter.
It's really in how you frame it, Cliff.
No, it's fair enough. Here's what I will say. There was a season where all of our kids were out of the house. 6 months, 7 months before?
Yeah.
And just you and I here in Leo, it was like, wow, this is cool. I don't know for you how that was being, did you miss the kids?
I was a little lost.
Okay.
Yeah, it was, I didn't know what to do with myself.
Yeah, see, I'm like, dude, it's like.
But you didn't have anyone fighting you for my attention. And I think that's one of the things that you really love.
That is, and it's still what I love.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so,
and I would say you still have that on a majority basis.
A majority of the basis, yes.
He goes back to work on Wednesday and back to school and work next Monday, and we'll go back to not seeing him.
But
for
people,
days.
when people ask me, it's like, what so how's this empty net? It's like, yeah, I had it for 6 months. I had it for a month when he was in Japan.
Yeah.
It's like,
I think that we have a live-in babysitter for our dog.
Yeah.
Like I'm able to go to Charlotte with you this week because he's here to watch the dog.
That's true.
Like otherwise, and I know that there are so many other things that we could do, but this is my soul dog. Like this is the dog that gave me purpose when my kids left. Like he has become my baby, and I think he knows that. Yeah. I know that. You know that.
Yeah. When we talk about parenting, like it's like I'm totally second fiddle to this dog.
Everybody's second fiddle to this dog.
Yeah. There's some codependency happening in that relationship.
We know. We're aware. We don't mind.
All right. Life, business, money, and change. For the next question. What did building a business and working together teach us about our marriage that we could never have learned any other way? I would just say that being partners.
That we can work together, right? I think that here's the thing. So you worked in a family insurance agency where your parents worked together.
Yep.
And there was a time when you said, where they offered me a job and you said, don't take it. No, we'll do something else because we cannot work together. And I would agree with you in that environment.
Yes.
But we work together very well. And I think that a lot of that is we don't see the world differently. And so we're getting a clearer picture when we are working together.
Now, explain that, because earlier in this episode, we talk about the fact that we realize that we don't see the world the same. And that is true. But yet, just now, you said we work together well because we don't see the world differently.
Oh, then I misspoke, because we do see the world differently. And so we're getting a fuller picture.
Oh, okay.
So I just misspoke.
Okay. Well, actually, okay, so I understand now more clearly what you're saying, but I was actually going to say that there wasn't, even if you did mean what you said, one of the things that I would say is that while you and I perceive different things, we are very aligned.
Our values are aligned.
Yes.
Yes.
So that's where I was going to say there's no contradiction in those things. So we see the world the same, meaning that we have a lot of the same values and we have a lot of the same priorities and a lot of the same expectations because over the years we've navigated so much and we use those as filters and a lens through which we see the world. But at the same time, we still experience everything uniquely different from one another.
Yes. So both statements that I said were true. I just misspoke the first time.
Yeah, no, good deal. All right. So, I will say this. The idea, when I said, like, don't take the job to work here in the family business because it was a toxic, overworked environment, and all values, priorities, expectations were set by my parents, and they were not on the same page.
Right.
And that would have been incredibly challenging. But with you and I being the owners of our own business, partnering together, trust me, we had some challenges about what should be our priorities and things like this, and but we navigated it, and ultimately it was our decision.
Exactly.
And so the fact that's the difference between you and I working together in a family business that's not our business versus being in business together that is our business. Mm-hmm. Okay. Oh, and one of the things that I think building a business together and working together has taught us about our marriage that we couldn't have learned any other way is just how much of partners we are meant to be in this world, and it's just more fun with you. Mm-hmm. All right. Next is, what have we learned about the difference between supporting one another's dreams and trying to control how those dreams should unfold? The way that I see this question, because I see you just sitting there, I don't think either of us have ever had any inkling of trying to control how our dreams unfold. Mm-mm. And I think we have both been 100% supportive of each other's dreams without any attachment to how it unfolds. Would you agree with that?
I think so. Yes.
Okay.
I do.
Next question. How has our relationship with money changed over these 30 years? And what has money taught us about ourselves?
I don't know.
Here's what... go ahead.
No,
you're about ready to say something.
Go ahead.
Go first.
Well, I know our belief on what you have to do to make money has changed. You don't have to work from the time that you get up to the time, or from sun up to sundown, and slave labor to make enough money. I know that we've learned the value in pricing and pricing correctly for the products and services that we've offered. And what was the last part of the question? And what has
money taught us about ourselves?
About ourselves. That one I don't know.
What I will say...
I don't think I made a complete thought, but go ahead.
How has our relationship with money changed over these 30 years? Well, first of all, we had none. and for the first several years of our marriage, we had lots of debt. Then we had plenty. And as soon as we had plenty and had enough to pay off all of our debt, then I quit my day job and we went back to having no money. But living off of a lot that was there from the plenty before. And then, gosh, we went on a 10, 15 year journey of just exponential financial growth. And then navigating a different pivot and a change. And after COVID, probably about 2 years after COVID, just saw another slow downturn and, just navigating. One thing I will say is that my understanding of money is that exactly what you said. I no longer believe that you have to, the harder you work, the more you should earn. And the more difficult that something is, the more you should get paid. I genuinely believe that you can get paid to do something that you love to do. And the more you love to do what you do, the chances are you'll invest the more time, effort, and energy in mastering the skills related to it. One of my favorite things that I've learned over the years is find something you love to do so much that you'd be willing to do it all day long for free, and then become so good at doing that thing that people would be willing to pay you to do it. Now, there's a lot of things I've learned along the way, such as validating products and services and making sure there's a market fit and a need for what it is that you're doing, and will people pay you, and all sorts of things along the way. But the thing that I've learned is I remember when we were thinking about having children before Megan came along, there was this thought for years, we can't afford to have a child. We can't afford to have a child. And one of the things that I learned is that that was the truth in my mind, and that we would never be able to afford to have a child until we had a child. And when we had a child, we made it work. And then we actually intentionally used that principle
every other time for whatever it was.
Exactly. And when we made the decision to put the $1,000 deposit on this house, not knowing where the other $62,000 was going to come from after taxes within 9 months as the house was being built, and also the fact that we would actually potentially have to carry 2 mortgages for a number of months while we sold the other house, not having any idea how to pull all of that off, we absolutely knew that we wouldn't be able to afford it until we made the commitment. And when we made the commitment, it gave me all of the motivation necessary to come up with the way. And so there's a lot about that, about money. That has come up.
I agree with you.
All right, let's see here. When have we come closest to building our lives around somebody else's definition of what a successful life was supposed to look like?
It's been a bit.
Sorry, friends. We really don't care about your idea of success. We have gone our own way. I would say it was before I left insurance.
Yeah, it's been a hot minute, but also I think that where we are now, I can support and value somebody else's
definition of
success for themselves,
Absolutely.
But I don't have to adopt that onto me.
Absolutely agree with us. You. I'm not suggesting. Yeah. I don't mind anybody who prioritizes, I want to earn as much money as I can and prioritize, this is where I invest all of my time, effort, and energy and all this other stuff. You do you, and I'll do me. And,
exactly.
And as long as, we're all on our own path. All right, next question. Of all the major changes we have made together, career changes, business changes, moves, parenting transitions, changes in beliefs, anything else, which one most changed the direction of our lives? I think there's a tie between two.
Okay. I'm listening.
So the first one is becoming full-time self-employed, and hands down, there's no doubt in my mind that one is, it pulls for first place.
Correct.
But then as I say the next one out loud, it's like it's tie. I can't think of one that's actually, what is it? Changed the direction of our lives the most. No, okay. I would say the business probably more. No? See? Okay, you don't even know the second
I
one.
don't.
Are you ready for the second one?
I'm ready.
You have no clue what the second one is?
I don't know.
It was making the decision to leave the adherence to the fundamentalist evangelical
I could have guessed that.
means of path of evangelical fundamentalist Christianity.
Okay, and how was the question worded? What was the biggest...
Of all of the major changes we have made together,
okay,
career changes, business changes, moves, parenting transitions, changes in beliefs, or anything else, which one most changed the direction of our lives? I
don't think either changed the direction of our lives because I think they were both points on the path all along. We were always going to start our own business. We were always going to leave the congregational gathering. Both of those were going to happen to get us to where we are. I don't look back and see us making any other decision in those two. Like,
yeah,
I'm just using those because you chose those. But again, that's because to me, that question is the same thing as what would you go back and tell your newlywed self? Nothing, because every choice on the line in the 30 years led us to where we are right now.
Yeah, because I don't see any,
I think we were,
there are if you think about the idea of there's parallel universes.
That's fine. There can be another universe of us that is still in insurance or still in the traditional church, but they're not this version of us.
Right.
And this version of us
is here.
Wouldn't have chosen differently because
there was no other option.
There was no other option. We're here.
Yeah. We came to...
I almost feel like I understand time travel in multi-universes right now the way I said that. Like there was no other choice for... Yeah.
It's interesting. I'm in agreement.
Okay.
I'm in agreement. All right. How have we learned to make room for one another to change without requiring the other person to remain who they used to be?
Huh?
So how have I? You forgot
to tell Mira is his ChatGPT, to explain her questions to a 5-year-old.
Oh, I'm sorry. So how have I made room for you to change without requiring you to remain, or without requiring me to change? I don't know.
I don't get the question. That's right.
Let me ask the question again.
Read it again.
How have we learned to make room for one another to change without requiring the other person to remain who they used to be?
So like
if you changed, how did I make room for that without requiring you to be the person you used to be? Like when you came back to Colorado, how did I make room for you to come back a different person without requiring you?
Okay. I came back from Colorado and just stomped all the walls down. So I'm not sure that actually, that's funny because in my mind, I came back and you had two options, and that was accept the new me, or we would really have to re-examine this. We're only doing this one time. Right? I think that the honest answer is that we learn to love the other where they're at always. And so I could come back and change and be this new version of myself and still love you in the version of you that, like, you were the same version that I left when I got on the plane to Colorado as when I got back. I was the one who changed. You were able to love me where I had changed, and I was able to love you where you were still at.
Yep.
It took several years for you to catch up to where I was. But I just see our whole marriage as me playing the long game, so...
Is that how you see that?
It is.
And that's how Sue sees it.
Yeah. I didn't like her actually. But I think that, I mean, that's my answer, is that we have the ability to love the other where they're at without expecting them to be where we want them to be.
So here's what I would say is neither of us, since we went to Tony Robbins together in, what was that?
That's been 10 years.
June 2016.
Yeah.
In Dallas, Texas. We walked on fire together. We came away
one after the other.
we came
I think I went
home
first.
with shared language and a whole different way of seeing the world. And from that day forward, I don't think there's ever been a time where we even expect each other to remain who we are.
Right. We're constantly changing and evolving.
Yeah. All right.
But mine, it still works prior to 2016.
Yes. All right. Who have we become is the next segment here. What is something about me that you appreciate more today than you did 10, 20, or 30 years ago?
Okay. I think it's appreciate, right?
Yep.
I appreciate the way that now we can talk philosophically where we couldn't 10 or 20 years ago. Like, even think about all of the philosophical, easy for me to say, philosophical things that were happening in Lost. And we couldn't have those conversations at the time, but now we talk about them in great detail and are able to see and even experience some thing. And so I think that also you're a very deep thinker. I appreciate that. And I literally tell my ChatGPT to talk to me like I'm a kindergartner. And it's not because I can't think deep. It's just because I need you to explain it to me flat. Like, I don't want to think until I'm ready to answer. Does that make sense?
Yeah. So for me, something I appreciate more about you than I did 10, 20, 30 years ago, I appreciate your stubbornness.
Ha! Really?
Yes.
Interesting.
I do. Because I have come to value how much you perceive things that I may not be seeing, things that I'm filtering out. And I love the fact that you don't immediately just agree with everything I say. I really love you just saying, no, I'm putting my foot back down. This is how I see it. And this is what I think. And I didn't appreciate that a lot earlier on. So yeah, there we go. And there's more, but it
only asks for one.
It says something. Yeah. All right. Next question. In what ways do you believe our marriage has helped you become more fully yourself?
I've been married longer than I was not, so I don't think I would have become myself had I I don't see a version of myself that hasn't been married the last 30 years.
I think the answer to this question for both of us is that our marriage is in such a way that we both have so much space.
That is true.
To explore who we are, and that is it safe to say we do not have expectations of each other of who we ought to be?
No. Yes, that is safe to say. Is that what you asked?
Yeah.
Yes, that's it.
So
100%. We don't do unspoken expectations.
And we don't hold a lot of expectations.
Right. Well, and I think that also, so you are my best friend. You are the person I want to spend the most time with. You're this person I spend the most time with. And we enjoy that time. But we also respect and acknowledge that we're both introverts.
Mm-hmm.
And we both have our own hobbies and our own alone time. And we have a deep respect for the fact that the other needs that. Like, I don't have to be up in your face all the time. You know why? Because I don't want you up in my face all the time. Like, I love that we have our time and it's valued and it's important. I love our routine. Like, we're past bedtime. Like, it's 7:15. We would have walked our dog by now and gone up to watch television from our bed, and then you go to sleep by 8:30 and I read until 9:30, and like that. I love that.
Yeah.
I hate when that's interrupted. Now, I'm not going to say I hate this right now because I don't. I knew this was going to go late and we chose to take a nap before we recorded. So like we knew we were going to be late. But I love our routine. I love our walks in the morning. Like, we do things together on a daily basis. We work together on a weekly basis. Because we don't work to, like, I don't do office work daily.
Yep. In
your office or in this co-office, whatever this is.
Studio B, the co-creation studio.
Right. So
we had to dust off the cobwebs.
Literally, there were cobwebs on my mic. That's crazy. My mic was cobwebbed to the lamp. But we love the time that we spend together, but we respect that we need our space as well. And I don't know if that answered the question because I no longer remember the question, but that's what it made me think of.
Yep. Let's see here. In what ways do you think being married to you has changed me for the better? What an odd question.
What an odd question, because I'm thinking I'm sarcastic and stubborn and loud. But you just said stubborn was a good thing. So, has changed you for the better.
Yeah. So what do you think being married to you has done for me that has changed me for the better? It's an interesting question.
It's a very interesting question, and I almost feel like it should be easier to answer.
Well, I think there's some presupposition here. So there's the presupposition that somehow you have done something to change me, and or I have done something to change you.
So maybe it's just that we give each other the space to become who we're becoming.
Yeah. And I think
that is the betterment. The betterment is that I give you the space to become who you are meant to be, and vice versa.
Yes.
And we don't should on each other, and we don't have unspoken expectations.
We give each other so much flexibility and freedom to express who we are, even as that's changing.
Right. And while I would say that, when we were talking about raising our adult children, that we put like our marriage was prioritized over our relationship with our children. But in this section, I would even say our relationship with ourselves is prioritized over our marriage. You allow me to be Stephanie.
Yes. This is something that has changed for us.
I am not just Cliff's wife.
I think when we first got married, I came into this marriage under the philosophy that you complete me, or that we're supposed to complete
Jerry
one another.
Maguire said so.
But I would say that I'm saying this out loud. I don't think we've ever said this out loud before. I may be saying it for the very first time, but I think that we do not complete each other. Mm-mm. You are complete in and of yourself. I'm complete in and of, but I think we complement each other incredibly well.
Yes.
And that is something that I think is it's like whoever you become, however you change or evolve, that will be what is going to be the perfect complement to whoever I evolve into the next. Neither of us, we're not static beings, but right. Neither of us are incomplete, and we're not more complete because we're together.
Correct, because we were never incomplete.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. That is something we did not have in the first 10 years of our marriage.
No.
Is that understanding? No. All right.
Submission.
All right. Let's see here. What do you believe we understand about love today that can only be learned by actually living 30 years of marriage? I think it's
Nothing.
same.
It's a choice.
It's a choice.
It's a choice every day.
Love is a choice.
It's a choice in the good times. It's a choice in the hard times. It's it's a choice when the money is plenty and when the money is tight. It's a choice. I don't think that there is anything different about that 30 years. Now, I think what has grown and changed in 30 years is not the love. It is the respect and the appreciation and the admiration and the knowledge
and the grace.
Yeah.
And the compassion.
Like, those are the things that have grown and changed, not the love. The love was a choice all along.
Yeah. If the two people in our wedding photos could somehow see the life we are living today, what do you think would surprise them most?
This career.
Yeah.
I think two people in our wedding photo. Well, okay. The girl in our wedding photo never imagined that she wouldn't have a job outside of the home. So the minute that girl got to become a stay-at-home mom, she was living something she had never dared to dream of. And I have thought many times that we are living a life that is beyond my wildest dreams.
That guy in that photo, at that time, he was already in insurance, wasn't he?
No.
No.
He went into insurance like 9 months later.
Okay.
Maybe a year.
I don't think I knew it at the time. But in that first year of marriage, I know for a fact that there is because we were already leading Bible study groups at the time.
Yes. We were doing that before we got married.
And that there was a part of me that didn't consciously know then, but months later felt like I want to devote the rest of my life to, at the time, I would have used the phrase ministry. That one day I literally want to be a head pastor of a church. And never under the guise of the power from the pulpit that everybody respects for his oratory and all this other stuff, but literally to just be of support and encouragement to people. And what shocks me today is that we are not involved in the same form of faith that we were at the time. We broke free from a lot of doctrine and dogma and things of that nature, and no longer are part of institutionalized Christianity. Mm-hmm. But it's very clear today that if I were able to go back and talk to that version of me, there's going to be a day where you will have a ministry to hundreds of thousands of people around the world, and that's what you will do for a living. So that's that version of me looking at today. That's how he is like, oh my gosh, I can't even imagine that. And back then, the biggest thing that he could imagine was maybe one day I'll be a pastor of a Nazarene church with about 200 people, and that will be like a mega church for me. That was my wildest dream at the time.
Right.
And it's so exactly what you're saying. This career, it is so far exceedingly more than anything we could have ever dreamed of back then. The one thing that has never changed is wanting to be by your side.
Thanks.
There's only one more question. We've done 29 questions now.
Wow. Really?
Yep. Are you ready for the last question?
Almost.
Okay. What are you noodling on over there?
I was just one thing that has never changed is you've never not wanted to be by my side. And I was just thinking about the times when, like, there are seasons of life where I've been in front and you've been behind, or you've been in front and I've been behind, but we've been doing it together anyway, that's all.
You and I recently went through some pretty challenging stuff. I mean, like, among some of the more challenging things we've been through. And as we're navigating decisions based upon that, it was emotionally charged. Not like we're mad or anything, but we're both like anxious, worried, concerned, all the just stuff, just the stuff. And after we had hours of trying to figure out, it's like, how do we navigate this? I actually asked you, I said, hey, are we good?
We're always good.
And you said, actually, that's not what you said. You said, we're never not good.
Yeah. That's not the same thing.
It is the same thing, but the way you said it really spoke deep into my soul. We're never not good.
Well, it's the truth. We're never not good. It doesn't matter what is happening on the surface level, because our marriage is not built on the surface level.
Yep.
The surface stuff is going to come and go. It's going to, things are going to change. Things are going to happen. We're going to experience different things. Probably in the next 15 years, we'll experience losing parents and, or caring for parents. And that'll open up a new challenge and a new stage. And, we may have grandchildren. We may not. We may only get granddogs, and that will be okay. But all of that is top level stuff, and our bond is not top level. And so, what did I say? We're never not good. You like my double negative. That's what you like.
Okay, final question.
Okay.
The next chapter. If we are fortunate enough to sit together for our 60th wedding anniversary and look back on the next 30 years, what would need to happen for us to say that was an extraordinary second half of our life together?
Nothing.
I have the exact, the answer is nothing.
Because when we make it the next 30 years, it's going to be extraordinary.
Yeah.
Just like the first 30.
Yep.
It's like I already touched on it. Like, we're going to go through different seasons. We're going to continue to age ourselves. Like, the world's going to keep spinning around us. Like, it's going to be extraordinary no matter what it looks like.
Yeah. What was that question? How was it? Yeah, that was an extraordinary second half. As far you say when we make it to our 60th, I don't even know. We don't know. I mean, it's a blessing that we've made it to 30
it is,
years
but
together.
I'm not going to sit here and say if.
Yeah, no. Well, that's what the question is. This is if. But the point is one of the things that I'm still convinced of as much today. Actually, more. No, one of the things I'm convinced of more today than I was 10 years in is that if you and I are both alive 30 years from now, we will still be together. That's I'm more convinced of that now. One thing I can say,
we better be living like the Jetsons.
You think so?
No, I'm just being silly.
Here's what I know. I love you more today than I have ever loved you prior to today. Mm-hmm. The other thing that I know is, the standard wedding vows for richer, for poorer, in sickness and health. It doesn't matter. Obviously, I have my preferences. I want
forsaking all others.
What is the forsaking all others?
Except the dog.
Oh yeah. So, but the thing is I have no idea what is in store for us. For finances, I have no idea what's in store for us when it comes to physical health. I have no idea what other external situations, challenges may come our way. What I do know is that if I have the opportunity to partner with you through it all, that will be extraordinary. Mm-hmm. Hey, thank you so much for joining us, and we will be back. Until next time, we encourage you to
live your life on purpose.